Welcome to today's video. I'm going to show you something that is extremely annoying. It has to do with this guy right here, this stupid scale. Basically, all of my problems have to do with that scale today. Comment down below if this happens to you, but this morning I got on the scale. It told me I gained like 2 pounds, which was not true. And then I got back on the scale later, and then it told me I got a new low weigh-in by over 1 pound. So I either lost 1 pound or gained 2 pounds, and either way, I'm so annoyed by scales being so stupid. But anyway, I figure I'll show you my update on my physique today here in the mirror. All right, so here's my physique today. Overall, I think I'm looking leaner for sure. And you definitely can't just listen to what the scale says because the scale lies, but it's always just feels good to get a new low weigh-in. Unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Okay guys, so in this video, I think you're gonna learn a lot. I think this is gonna be very informative. I'm gonna talk to you about progressive overload and how a lot of people are progressive overloading incorrectly. So what I mean by that is I'm definitely going to go more in depth here in a little bit once I get to the actual portion of the video where we're going to talk about that. If you are just here to watch that portion of the video, go ahead and come to this timestamp and it'll go straight to that part of the video. If you're interested in just hearing more about my prep update and how things are going, then stay tuned for the rest of the video. But I really think everyone needs to hear this because I have been seeing so much talk on progressive overload recently and a lot of it is incorrect. And basically, just to premise what I'm going to talk about later, progressive overload used to be this secret that no one really knew about. And it's great that the word has gotten out that progressive overload is seriously like the secret to success in weightlifting and things like that. But what has happened is people are starting to apply it incorrectly, and they feel that because they know the term progressive overload, they're now evidence-based and they can coach people or they know how to train themselves. And unfortunately, they're just not really doing it correctly. So I'm gonna teach you guys in this video how to progressively overload correctly, specifically when it comes to building muscle. And I do think you're gonna learn a lot. But without further ado, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna give you a full update on the prep. The biggest struggles that I've been facing so far being on my show prep for now, I think 5 or 6 weeks now. So we're gonna go straight there. If you would, please give this video a like, and I'll see you guys at the gym. All right, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way real quick. You're gonna see that I'm lifting in 2 different gyms, and this is the same workout on the same day. It's just that after I finished my chest part of the workout, Maddie had to go train a client at one of this private training facility we go to. And so we had to go there, and that's where I finished my workout. So this was my push day workout. You're probably wondering why I'm switching it up from hypermass. And so I ran hypermass 4 times in a row, and that's how I got, honestly, all of my off-season gains, which I am super pumped about. But I wanted to switch it up just a little bit going into my diet. And yeah, I'll just give you guys an update now. So I am doing push-pull legs currently, and I just decided to wait that out as long as possible until we get going on our newest program, which is pretty top secret, but it will be a shred program and it's going to be unbelievable. But anyway, we're here for a prep update. So yeah, I've been prepping for 5 to 6 weeks now. I am officially under 12 weeks out and altogether feeling really good. The first 4 or 5 weeks, I was on track, losing 1 to 2 pounds a week, which is exactly what I wanted to do at the beginning. And altogether, if there's one thing I want to stress is that it's been so easy. And it's easy when you are new to dieting or even prepping or whatever it may be to overthink it and stress out about it and not feel comfortable with restricting your calories at first. But I want to promise you something, and this is something really important. If you go into it with a better attitude, it will be easier. And I know that's so simple, but seriously, guys, I mean, this is my 4th year dieting now. And last summer, I lost 26 pounds and it was so easy. And this year, it feels easy too. And it's simply because I'm just not afraid to lower my calories at this point. And I know that it's going to be minorly difficult, but with a good attitude, it's just okay. And it turns out, you know, if you just stop thinking about food all the time and stop worrying so much, it ends up being just so much easier on you. So mentally, I'm in a really good place right now. It's just very easy. I think it'll eventually start to get hard, obviously, but I think it'll be several weeks before that happens. I actually just dropped my calories again, so I'm at 1950 for calories right now. My protein's still up like 170 grams, carbs, some around 215, and fat, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, is maybe 46, 47 grams of fat. And I just know to eat a lot of volume and I'll be okay. And so things are just easy, guys. I mean, seriously, I'm having great workouts. My strength has not gone down at all. I'm feeling just as muscular and big as before. You know, I'll occasionally have like a flat day or so, but altogether, I just feel great. And things are just great, guys. I mean, I can't complain. Things are absolutely great. And it just pays off to know what you're doing correctly. And yeah, if you guys need help, I mean, please reach out. You know, we coach guys and we make it easy on them. So that's what we're here for. But that was kind of my workout footage from today. Feeling really good. I'm hoping to, you know, really dig into the mid 160s to low 160s here in the month of February to March kind of range. And that's when I'm going to start looking super good. So I am so pumped. Some days I just want to leave from my stress. Some days I don't want to see have a bunch of people impress. I just want to leave from my stress. Yeah, I just want to leave from my stress. All right, guys, so let's finish this video off with a really detailed and valuable talk about progressive overload, how progressive overload really is the secret to success, but how all of a sudden recently we've just been seeing so many incorrect uses of progressive overload. So I think this is going to be really important to talk about so that you don't make some of the mistakes that are being preached out there today. Like I said earlier, progressive overload used to be kind of something that not too many people knew about, and then the word got out, everyone knows about progressive overload, but very few people know how to do it correctly. So we're going to talk about that. This is specifically in the context of hypertrophy or building muscle. It is going to be slightly different if you are a power lifter training specifically for strength. It would be different if you're doing some other sport, but for muscle building, right here, this is stuff that you need to know. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is when people say you need to progressively overload. And the way that we're going to do that is by adding weight to the bar every single week, or at least trying to add weight to the bar every single week. Now I'm gonna tag a video here that explains why getting stronger doesn't necessarily mean getting bigger. But to summarize something really important is, yeah, I mean, getting stronger and getting bigger are two different things. Now they can overlap a little bit, and on the process of trying to get bigger, you definitely might get stronger. But getting stronger at a lift is not a sign of growth, unless it's organic, which we're gonna talk about here in a little bit. Progressive overload in its truest form is not something that we decide to happen. It's not a conscious decision. So to consciously go to the gym saying, all right, this week I'm gonna add 5 pounds on my bench press, the next week I'm gonna put 5 pounds more on, and every single week I'm just gonna add 5 pounds. That is incorrect, and that is not progressive overload. Now, if you are able to increase your bench press or add weight to the bar every single week, that tells me two things as a coach. Number one, it tells me that your intensity is probably too low and or your volume is too low. Now, as I explained a little bit in the video that I tagged just a little bit ago, if you're getting stronger that often, now the caveat here is in the beginning of a new training cycle or mesocycle, you might get a little bit of strength there. But if you're continually just keep getting stronger, you are either A, newbie, B, you have fantastic genetics, congratulations, or C, you are not lifting hard enough. Your intensity is too low or your volume is too low. You are not building enough fatigue to the point where your body is too easily adapting to the training stimulus. And it is highly suggested that you increase your intensity and increase your volume until your body has a harder time adapting to that stimulus. And that's truly progressive overload right there in the process of gaining muscle. And that also means that you're misunderstanding mechanical tension and thinking that by adding weight to the bar, you are building muscle, but we know that building muscle happens from mechanical tension, which is a perfect balance of volume and intensity in harmony with each other and has nothing to do with actually how much weight you're lifting. So someone who is progressively overloading incorrectly, their program might look something like this. So on Monday, they come into bench press, they do 200 pounds for 15 reps of, maybe 3 sets. The next Monday, they do another 3 sets, but this time they do 215 and they do it for maybe only 12 reps. Then the next week, they add another 10 pounds, make it 225, and this time they do it for 8 reps. And the next week, they maybe do 240, and they do it for 6 reps. That is so common, and we see that all the time. And they think, hey, I just went from 200 pounds a few weeks ago, and now I'm doing 240. That's amazing. That's 40 pounds. It's progressive overload. When in all reality, all they've done is just increase the weight and decrease the reps to the point where the volume and the intensity is actually probably the exact same. Now back to mechanical tension, we must see a progressive overload in volume and intensity, not so much the weight on the bar. So in this case, although the external load has increased, and yes, we could track intensity by the external load, but by a mechanical tension and a hypertrophic viewpoint, we've actually not increased the intensity at all. RPE and RIR are the exact same, meaning that that person did not progressively overload at all. And a side note with that main mistake is in the process of increasing weight, they might actually lower their neurological connection to their muscles, so their ability to feel a certain muscle working, and in a sense they might have worked their muscle less. For instance, bench press with the chest. I know for myself at least, and this is very individualized, but me benching 315 for a few reps versus me benching 225 for lots of reps, it's a big difference. On the 315, I pretty much don't feel my chest working at all. Obviously it is, but I don't feel it. Versus the 225, I'm able to feel my chest working a lot better. And that actually is extremely important when it comes to hypertrophy. And the next mistake that we commonly see is maybe someone sticks to their 3x10. So they're gonna do 3 sets of 10 reps and they want to progressively overload. So they start off with 200 pounds and they do 10 reps for 3 sets. The next week they do 205 pounds for 10 reps. The next week they do 215 pounds for 10 reps. The next week they do 225 for 10 reps. And they think once again that they have progressively overloaded because they've increased their weight while doing the same amount of sets and reps so that their workload has increased. Unfortunately, once again, this is not progressively overloading correctly. And essentially what you've done is started at a way too low of an intensity to do much. And then you've ended at maybe a good intensity, but you've wasted all those other weeks doing stuff that really wasn't working that well. So it sounds like they're progressively overloading, but they're actually not. And their volume and intensity, once again, was just too low at the beginning. So they wasted several weeks thinking they're progressively overloading when they're not. Now I want to clear something up, and something that I've actually been taught and have taught in the past, that progressive overload can simply be measured by workload, which is reps times sets times weight. Now, although this almost is correct, the more that we've learned about hypertrophy and the importance of mechanical tension, it is safe to say that reps and sets are pretty important, but the weight used really is not important. So I'm gonna turn to the whiteboard here in a second because there's a few ways to, I guess, correctly track progressive overload. There are some forced ways that we can force progressive overload from happening, and then there's the organic methods, which I'm going to explain a lot better. So let's just turn to the board and we'll talk about this. So the forced ways to force progressive overload to happen. And when I say that, I want to be careful because you really can't force it. It should be more of an organic thing that happens from building muscle. But what we can do is we can always add more sets. And that is something that I do in my training. Anthony and I, when we designed Hypermass, we definitely use that with an increase of sets over time. This is a correct way that you could progressively overload. Although I will say the best way you could progressively overload is by organically auto-regulating and adjusting your volume compared to how your body is handling it and its ability to recover and adapt. Number 2 would be increased intensity. So once again, mechanical tension is that volume and intensity. So we can increase the intensity. And I'm not meaning the external load, I mean the internal experience of intensity or the perceived exertion. So we could use RPE or we could use RIR, and we can increase our intensity over time, which As my clients know, yep, that's what we do. You can also improve your neuromuscular connection. By this, I mean basically like mind-muscle connection. For instance, if you do dumbbell bench press and you only kind of feel it on your chest, and maybe as time goes on through a training cycle, you're able to feel it more and more and more in your chest as the weeks go on, then you are technically progressively overloading because you're using your muscles better. You've increased your ability to connect your mind and your muscle together. Also, you can improve your technique. That kind of goes hand in hand, honestly, with hypertrophy. Technique is more about what works best for you to feel your muscle working. And lastly, you can improve the range of motion. So a good example would be the squat. If you're doing quarter squats, then if over time you're able to go below parallel, you're gonna be using your muscles a lot better. And so technically, yeah, you have forced progressive overload to happen. Now, right here, we have the organic method of progressively overloading, and I did put increase the load. So before I was saying that increasing the load or increasing the weight that you're using isn't really progressive overload, but hang on, I will explain this. If you're able to organically increase the load, then that is progressive overload. So back to the bench press analogy, if you're benching 200 pounds every single week, you can't simply just add weight one week without proving that maybe you weren't lifting in the right volume and intensity the previous weeks. But what happens is if you're actually building muscle and you have more muscle moving more weight, there's a really good chance that your bench press could increase because you've added on more muscle mass. And in that case, you have correctly progressively overloaded by creating more muscle mass that can lift more weights. So I consider this all pretty deep stuff, and hopefully this doesn't go over your head or anything, but it is time that we start understanding progressive overload correctly and its relationship with building muscle and how to do so. It just got super bright, so sorry for being all white all of a sudden, but yes, that is the video. I'm actually gonna just end it here, so thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like, especially if you learned something. I am officially becoming extremely white right now, so we're just gonna end it there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.